question today is, can Islamic finance spur inclusive growth and sustainable development, and how? Hello and welcome to Islamic Finance Weekly. I am Rahma Saeed Muhammad. On today's episode, we'll be discussing non-interest finance as a catalyst for growth in Nigeria's real sector. And joining me virtually today is Niyi Yusuf, Managing Partner, Veraki Partners. Hello, thank you. Welcome on the show today, sir.
Thank you very much, and good to be on the show.
Thank you, sir. In the last decade, we have seen the evolution of the non-interest finance industry and how it has supported road infrastructure projects through Sukuk. So how can this unique industry be repositioned to finance the growth of other sectors like the agriculture, energy, and manufacturing?
In the last decade or so, the federal government has raised more than 1 trillion naira through Sukuk bonds. Many private companies have raised billions of naira through Sukuk, and each time there's a Sukuk issuance, it is typically oversubscribed. 300%, 400 times oversubscribed, which means there's a lot of interest in Sukuk. And so a few things that we need to do, or that stakeholders need to do. First is around financial education, investor education, to get more investors to understand what Islamic finance is about, and the fact that Islamic finance is not only for Muslims, but it's for everybody that has a viable business opportunity. To also understand that Islamic finance supports projects that are beneficial to humanity, that are not harmful to humanity. So if you're talking about ESG, environmental, social, and governance, that is really what Islamic finance supports. I think the other thing that also needs to be done, it's about providing liquidity. So today, if you look at the conventional banking, if a bank has liquidity cash flow issues, they can go to the central bank of Nigeria and seek support and take a loan. Unfortunately, that loan is based on interest financing from the central bank. So it's important to create such liquidity support that is Sharia compliant, that is non-interest based, and to have that also provided by the central bank for Islamic finance, for Islamic financing. I think the third thing is to also look at markets beyond Nigeria, and we're beginning to see that. Abia State just got I think 200 million plus dollars loan from the Islamic Development Bank, which is part of Islamic finance. And so how do we reach out to Islamic finance institutions outside of Nigeria? I think that's also one thing that we need to do, and we need the Federal Ministry of Finance to lead in that direction, to ensure that we're able to talk to Islamic finance institution outside of the country.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that enlightenment. Moving further, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, said the world can no longer afford the elevated means of interest-based financing in his speech last year. So policy-wise, how can Nigeria attract international and local non-interest finance investments to unlock economic opportunities?
Indeed, I agree with the Honorable Minister that Nigeria needs more diverse source of funding. and more equitable source of funding. And what Islamic finance provides is financing that it's much more affordable than the conventional funding that are available. But Nigeria must do its own homework to ensure that we have assets that are, like they say, that are bankable, that we have projects that Islamic finance can support, right? And so a number of things. Islamic finance will require that your transaction should not be harmful to human beings, should not include speculation or gambling, but more importantly, should have a physical asset that backs it. And that's why when you talk about roads, when you talk about bridges, manufacturing, these are all items that will be eligible for Islamic financing. And so it's for Nigeria, it's for the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, MOFI, and others to come up with assets that are well defined in terms of their specifications, that have physical existence in terms of location, and that also have commercial value, as in they can generate revenue. So if you take a road, you can toll the road, and the toll fee is what will be used to service the Islamic finance. And so if we can compile a list of such projects, whereas the specifications are well defined, there are existing physical locations, and the commercial value is also clear in terms of how they can generate revenue. Those loans are what we then need to go and market to international investors. When you go to the Islamic Development Bank, when you go to Malaysia, there are major locations where you can call Islamic finance hubs. Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar. So Nigeria then needs to actively go to those hubs and market those projects that have been identified. And once we do that, we're likely to record more success.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. Now on the state level, looking at state governments, what areas can the state government tap into the non-interest financing that will unlock growth and development at the grassroots levels?
If I'm right, I mean the first state was Osun, but that was during the engineer Aregbesol's period. So that's like more than eight years ago. Since then, we've had the Caliphate Sukuk by Sokoto Kebi. I think in the last 2 years or so, we also had a Sukuk that was issued by Lagos State. So in a decade, we've gotten only 3 states to issue Sukuk out of 36 states. Even though we also have more than 18 states in the north that you think will jump at it. So it just tells us that there's still a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done to raise awareness, to provide clarity, and to get everyone to understand the benefits that comes with Islamic banking. My record suggests that Nigeria has constructed and rehabilitated over 4,000 kilometers of roads and bridges through Islamic financing. Over 4,000 now kilometers of roads and bridges. Now, those roads and bridges are in states. They are in local governments. And we still have a lot of roads that are bad. And so that's an opportunity for states to come through Islamic financing to get those roads and bridges to be up and doing. Businesses can also, states can set up Islamic financing vehicles to finance agriculture, to finance manufacturing, to set up commercially viable industrial parks, to do estates. Nigeria has housing gap, big housing gap. States can set up Islamic financing to do that. So there's a lot of assets and a lot of ways through states can tap into non-interest banking. But I think this first is really just
Right.
the understanding that this is available and that this Islamic financing will support any commercially viable venture that is based on a physical location. So you're talking roads, bridges, water, power, agriculture, manufacturing, industrial parks, many areas. I think we are limited by our creativity. And this is a time for states and Islamic finance professionals to be very, very creative to explore the opportunity that Islamic finance presents.
Right. I like that you said there is limited awareness around the states to, explore the offerings of Islamic finance because it's really, really wide. It's broad and, like you've mentioned, creativity too is needed to actually tap from all those tangible offerings. Well, the CBN released recapitalization guidelines for non-interest banks from 2024 to 2026. How do you see the NIB supporting the real sector, especially for SMEs in the country?
Access to financial inclusion has increased to about 70%, which is good. But access to credit is still less than 5%, which is a big problem. And Nigeria today has over 43 million or so MSMEs, even though a lot of them are micro businesses, 1 to 9
Right.
employees. But they all don't have access to capital. And that's why Islamic finance provides an opportunity. They could use the Ijara product to do asset financing. If you're an SME, you are a fashion designer, you need to buy tailoring machines, you need to buy equipment you can use for your tailoring business. That can be funded through a product called Ijara. Or it could be Murabaha, which is cost plus margin. And that can be used by MSMEs to finance their trade. Like we all know, Islamic finance is about profit and loss sharing. And so you have products like Mudaraba, like Musharaka, that's about profit and
Right.
loss partnership or sharing. And so these are all vehicles or products that MSMEs can use via Islamic banking. And that can then support the real sector because the real sector is the engine of growth of the economy. And so, yeah, the more capital these non-Islamic banks, non-finance, non-interest banks have, the more capital they have, the more we improve financial education and awareness such that more people put their deposits in the Islamic bank. So you need to have more deposits. Then the more deposits they have, the more capacity the Islamic banks have to be able to give loans, to be able to support MSMEs, either it's with Ijara or Musharaka or Mudaraba. So I think I'm happy with the increase in the target for bank recapitalization because that will provide more capital that the non-interest banks can then deploy to support our MSMEs.
True. Moving forward, Nigeria is currently facing a very challenging economic phase of high inflation, high interest rates, and low foreign direct investment, amongst others. How critical is the non-interest finance industry to actually stabilizing Nigeria's current economy?
Like they say, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And I think
Right.
maybe this high interest rates regime is the answer to some of the prayers. Is what will actually make more of us to embrace Islamic finance. I mean, just like COVID-19 has made us to embrace virtual meetings and remote working and digitalization. So maybe this high interest, very punitive, expensive high interest rate regime is what will make more Nigerians and more businesses and enterprises to consider Islamic finance. Because Islamic financing, in Islamic finance, like we all know, interest is prohibited, is forbidden, and margins are allowed. Profit and loss sharing is provided. And I've said that Islamic financing is actually the panacea, is the solution to the current challenges that we're facing as a country today. So I encourage more of us to patronize Islamic financing as individuals, as businesses, and also as governments. And we all can benefit from predictable, affordable, and humanity-based financing.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Thank you for that enlightening discussion. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Thank you for all you do to raise awareness about Islamic financing. I think the more of this that is done, hopefully the more people will buy into it, will embrace it, and all of us can benefit. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate. Like Niyi Yusuf has mentioned, there is limited creativity and there is minimal awareness of Islamic finance because there are broad opportunities to be tapped from, but this is seldom explored. Well, with that, I say, don't forget to keep it to date with us next week on the program. Follow us on all our social media platforms displayed on the screen. Thank you for watching. I am Rahma Say Muhammad.